Well, hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Drinks and Daves for Tuesday, the 17th of September, 2024. Please make sure that you introduce yourself. Hey, how are you, David?
All right, you keep adding more to the intro. I think you're going to hit the weather report and traffic.
Well, remember what the theme of the show is today: things that have gone away. So the good evening, wherever you're at, is gone. So
let's
doing something new. Hello, Pentea, Linda, and Rich, of course.
My face is too small, huh? Yeah, I need to get closer. How you doing, Dave? You're all better now, right? You're all healed up.
Yeah, I'm not. Hello, Tig Lily. I'm not doing that like the other day. Yeah, like on Sunday. How you doing? How you doing? We're from New York.
Yeah, we had a Zoom call Sunday, and something happened in your throat. When you're trying to talk through it, and you like went Guido like that. It was
it was like
awesome, but also like you could die.
Oh yeah, it was like talking like this. How you doing? Yeah, come on over to Brooklyn. We'll have some fagul. And yeah, it was bad. It was bad. Yeah, I'd say I'm probably 85, 90% back. I did talk. We did find out that there is like a COVID cough after you have COVID that sticks around. Hello, Stephen. And I want you to know, thanks to your son, Stephen, that he sent me the link to that vehicle. And I've got one all specced out. I just haven't clicked on the button yet, but I like the concept. In fact, my wife had been talking about, if they just can figure out a way to put solar panels on every inch of the roof, Arizona would be like the perfect place for a solar car.
Yeah.
So it looks
like didn't you tell me, because you guys don't have solar?
We do we have it on our motorhome, not on our house.
Yeah. But a lot of people don't have solar on their house there, right?
Oh no, they do. They do. Oh, it's just that the problem is the return on investment for what you have to spend, the outlay.
Even there, huh?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense yet. It's getting better, but there's a lot of solar companies, a lot of how you doing? Come get a solar panel from us, that type of thing.
Yeah,
and, it's going. So, how's your week been so far? You're gonna start talking like this too.
I don't. I was gonna try it. I think I wouldn't.
Have another cigar.
Hey, what are you smoking, Dave?
I am smoking a Arturo Fuente Rothschild Maduro. I had to because I was wearing my Arturo Fuente shirt that I spent way too much money on when we were in Vegas.
Yeah, I love that shirt.
Hardly, I do too. It's so
because those things aren't stickered; those are all stitched emblems on.
They're all they're all which where they're stickered at. Thank God they have a covering, because otherwise you'd have a little bit of irritation somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I got the Master Blends 3, and then
excellent cigar.
Switch over to the Magic Toast, which has become one of my new favorites.
What do you
know? What I learned? I still don't like bourbon. You got
that's not exactly a huge revelation there.
Breaking news. Well, I got to get rid of it. And every time I drink, I'm like, oh, maybe I've been away from it long enough that I'll like it. No.
Oh, and you had sent me a link today on the new Glenmorangie ice cream. I would not buy a bottle. I would try it because it seems like it's going to be super sweet.
Yeah. Well, but it's just Scotch. So how sweet can they? I mean, they're not adding sugar to it, so it's called ice cream. They're doing a series. What do they have? They had winter, and do they have summer?
Forest. They have the
forest, and now they've got ice cream.
Yeah, Tail of the Cake. That one was good.
Yeah, Tail of the Cake. Yeah, you see, that would have been sweet.
That's true. I guess it's worth the try. What are you drinking tonight? Oh, you're drinking Blanton's. I am drinking something. I am drinking. There's a brand new coffee roaster that we all know by the name of Chad's Coffee, and he sent me some Peruvian and some Vietnamese, and he's working on a breakfast blend right now. But the Vietnamese, I like really strong coffee, and it was a little bit. And I've always been told that Vietnamese coffee is real strong. For me, it wasn't. The Peruvian was, but trying it as a cold brew, so I cold brewed it. It's excellent. Absolutely.
What do you have in there, though? It looks like milk.
No, it's half and half.
Okay.
Half and half.
It's half and half is what it looks like.
No. It's just the Vietnamese does not Surprisingly, the Vietnamese, even when you really press it deep, it's not a real dark.
We've had two coffee roasters now on our show.
Hmm.
We're becoming and I just we were talking about this briefly about now because Chad's an owner of the cadre with you and a member of the cadre and a friend and all this stuff.
Hmm.
So it makes it a little bit different. Like I feel like you want to be respectful of those relationships, right? Because as soon as I realized we've got two coffee roasters, I'm like, well, that would be we could blind test coffees, but you wouldn't want to do that with somebody who you have a personal relationship with and then say this one's not fair.
I don't know. I disagree. I mean, because I did a product review video for Chad, and I was honest. I said, if I like it, I'll tell you. If I don't like it, I'm going to say it. So, like we were talking before we went on the air, I think we invite all of our coffee roasters on, and we kind of pretend it's like throwing cats into a burlap bag, and just you and I sit back and let them go at it. I think that'd be
all both of them.
All both of them, yes. Well, but then again, two cats in a burlap bag, that could be rather interesting.
Yeah.
So let's get a feel for how is everybody doing in the bar tonight. How many? We got 8 people. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 introduce themselves. So we have 5 lurkers.
You know what?
3 lurkers.
Did we
there
turn off
Jimmy
P-Beat at some point?
I don't know.
He was a staple of Drinks and Dave's, and then poof.
I don't know. Maybe he got the vid.
Okay. Who knows? Who knows?
So we got Jimmy here. Welcome, Jimmy. Thanks for joining us.
In fact, somebody got upset that you called him out, and now there's only 7 viewers. So careful. If you just want to watch, you don't want to say who you are.
That could have been PB.
Okay, too.
That could have been PB. And you know who we haven't? You know who we? Oh, wait, no, he just came back.
Oh.
Or we've got a replacement. You know who we have not seen in a little while is Amber and
Spider. Yeah.
Well, I know that they were at some amusement park, and I think they're probably very, very busy because their nuptials are coming up in.
Oh yes, just a month and a half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right on. Well, I thought I'm going to tell you what triggered. So the title of the show is stuff that's gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do we want it back or not or whatever? But we talk about that a lot, especially with food, right? The stuff that's gone and we miss this.
Right.
So I want to start talking about the opposite.
Okay.
And what triggered this is that whenever I think about training our girls to drive, I keep thinking at some point this won't have to happen anymore. Right, whether or not, and I get that it's the whole self-driving car thing is still in its infancy, and so people go, look, it doesn't work. Yeah, but 10 years ago it didn't even exist. So chill out, give it some time. So at some point, except for enthusiasts that want to drive, you'll be able to be on the road without a license at all. Right. So I was thinking about maybe some other skills or the other thought was we went from in our lifetime records, cassette tapes, CDs, and those are all, yes, you can still get them, but for the most part, they're gone, right? We've moved on to streaming services and all that kind of stuff. So are there other things that exist now that we just take as staples that you could at some point are going to be replaced?
Well, I think it's cyclical, and I think it's generational at the same time. It's whatever generation feels that's worth to them. Like, for instance, you mentioned LPs and records. There is a huge resurgence of people wanting to get back into records. Because I remember when records went away, if you needed a needle for your phonograph, or if you wanted to buy a phonograph, good luck. Now they're everywhere again. So I think it's generational, but I think as far as human skills that we have seen go away, probably the one that is the biggest, math. Because math, and I'm talking about from a consumer goods standpoint, because I know you've been in a store or in a restaurant, and let's say the bill is $21.25, and you give them $26.25, knowing that you're going to get a $5 bill back, and you see the bubbles on their head. You see the steam rolling out of their ears because they can't comprehend, because they're used to putting in numbers into a cash register and letting it tell the change. You see it all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that's a skill, a human skill that we have allowed to, and I don't know if that's a skill we've lost or if it's just that we've gotten lazy.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, as technology takes we this was a different show. We had this conversation, right? As technology takes over more and more and more, there exists the possibility for it to be used for wrong, which Tig Lily apparently would like to do. The rest of us, we don't need to do. But
here's a question, real quick. If AI takes over, why would they choose Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice? Would you think? Well, yeah, but it's like, I am going to take you back somewhere because I don't like
historical purposes.
Oh, okay.
Classic. Yeah. Okay. It harkens back to a more simple time. Yeah.
Well, for instance, things that are gone that have come back, or things that
okay.
I got to talk about it. I have to.
You can talk about, but we're not like LPs. They're not back. It's a niche thing, right?
Well,
your watch is a niche thing. But tell them what you. Yeah.
Well, back in 1972, Hamilton Watch Company was the first company to come out with an actual digital watch. And it was called the Pulsar, Hamilton Pulsar. Well, as time went on, Hamilton sold the Pulsar division to Seiko. That's why you don't see Pulsar on this watch. But it was a watch that, for me, my dad stood in line to pay $2,100 in 1973, which is equivalent to about 14 grand now.
$2,100?
$2,100 for the gold digital watch. And this is a watch that you can get them at Walmart for $10, but it's just the historical significance of the digital watch. And it's retro. And I know you and we talk, I love retro stuff. You don't.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things that have gone away and then, kind of researched. But what are the things, like you said, that have gone away that we used to do, that every human being, every kid used to do as either a rite of passage or because our parents taught us, that has gone completely away? What do you think? The rotary phone. There's one.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not, but I'm thinking skill-wise is an interesting topic, because fixing cars.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody used to know how to fix cars, but that was pretty standard, right?
It was easy
before my time.
Mm-hmm.
Changing the oil, changing your brakes, all that stuff. Now it's like, very few people do it, and there's some cars where you can't.
Yeah, you'd have to unbolt the entire. Well, I remember in my '66 Mustang, you open up the hood, you could see on the sides, you could see all the way to the ground. So you could climb in there and work. Now you open up the hood and say, no, because there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Okay, drive-ins and cruising.
Do you miss those though?
Yes, because I was a car guy. Yeah, I was a car guy, so I loved the cruising. But that didn't go away because went away mostly because of law enforcement.
Yeah, I think there's still places in the country that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But drive-ins, I'm totally fine without. I like the better sound, the more comfortable seats, having a glass of wine,
Well, and think about it. You still have Sonic. Sonic is probably the only drive-in that's still available.
He doesn't mean drive-in movies. He means drive-in. I see.
Well, maybe he could mean drive-in movies. But drive-in movies, I agree with you. The technology was that you took this box that weighed 43 pounds, put it on your window, and you're the only thing that was cool was the scalding hot boiling coffee that you could get that nobody drank in the snack bar.
Yeah. Well, what about then drive-in restaurants? Now you've got Sonic that no,
because who wants to get a big greasy cheeseburger? And you have this little tray, and then you take a bite of it, and it goes all over you and all over your upholstery. No.
Yeah. There's no cursive, and what's crazy?
Oh, there you go, cursive and typing. Yes,
we all know cursive, but I would have to think it would slow me down now. I think I would have to get used to it again.
But that's funny you say that, because I would assume, because you're into fountain pens, that when you're doing fountain pens, you have a tendency to use cursive more, don't you? Or no? Really?
No.
Okay, so I would think that you would.
What do you call non-cursive? What's the word for non-cursive writing?
I don't know. That's a good point.
Because script is
Block.
cursive.
Block lettering, maybe?
Block lettering.
Block lettering. But typing. And what Pantea is saying is very true. I remember in high school, we had a typing class. I mean, it was a requirement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I remember we were all excited because on Fridays, they usually gave you a sheet where if you just typed one character over and over again, you created a picture.
Yeah. Oh, they're the printing. Printing is used.
Yeah.
But you know, typing though, we talked about this once before. Is we don't have the class anymore, or at least we don't know. But you got to type all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's funny because it's going to be two thumb typing now. But so that gets me into a technology we have now that I think is going to go away. Because before the show, you said at some point you think that. What did you say would be here? Our phones or our computers?
Oh, our computers would be, they'd project right onto our arm or, you know, with some wrist device, and you just kind of type on your wrist.
So see, I think typing is going to be gone altogether at some point. And it probably won't be, it'll be gestures and predictive of what you want and all this stuff, because I can see, you know, then they've started right down that road. They had the glasses for a while that project. Mm-hmm. They got the big, huge Apple thing now where it makes you feel like you're in some big, huge theater. At some point, that is going to work so well that people are going to say, what, you used to carry like a device to type, to make phone calls or do, you know, the thought of it not being out in space somewhere would be bizarre. Like that'd be like the rotary phone, right? Is you had a physical computer?
Right. Well, yeah. And I think what's going to happen is people are going to, you know, you're going to be walking along and say, call Dave, and you're going to have a visual image of you that nobody else can see, but it'll be some type of retinal type thing. And yeah, I mean, it's all a matter of miniaturization and convenience. I mean, think about it. The first time you saw somebody with a cell phone, you know, and they were carrying it in a bag, you know, and now, you know, they're tiny. So I think you're right. I think sooner or later, a lot of the stuff based out of convenience is going to go. In fact, a perfect example of that, but let's say it does get to the point where you have a pair of glasses or an implant, you're in the grocery store. There won't be any cashiers. Not that there's a lot of cashiers now anyways, but as you pick up an item, you'll look at it, blink, and that'll put it in your cart. And then when you leave the store, you'll go up to that thing, blink, and it'll say, okay, sir, you owe $43,000, whatever the case.
Well, because Amazon's got stores like that in a few places.
I didn't know that, yeah.
Where there's no checkout. You just put your stuff in your bag, and it's got cameras all over the place that watch what you take. And then you have to be signed up to use, that store. But anyway. Mm-hmm. And then I think the same thing with audio, right? That it'll either be like miniaturized where basically everybody's wearing hearing aids for a while or something, but that it won't be like put them on, take them off, put them on. It'll just be this, like you're always interacting with your phone or your computer or whatever, and you'll always have a audio connection.
Well, for instance, I'm looking over at my wife right now. She's listening to the show. She's in the kitchen, and she's got bone induction headphones on. So she doesn't even have anything in her ears, so she can hear everything I'm saying. But that's the big thing that we bought. It's like, oh, wow, you don't have to stick anything in your ears, and it's just, bone induction headphones. So I think that's what you'll see, is you'll see a little sticker that you just go click,
But you know what I'm thinking? I can't see there being another option for is barbers. We will have all of this stuff and interacting, but you'll still have to go somewhere to sit down to fix your constantly growing hair.
Why do you think I decided to do this when I retired?
Right, you're going to do that.
Actually, no. I figure another 5 to 7, and I'm completely done for this retirement shade. And then I'll find something else. No, I think they tried it once with the Flowbee. Remember the Flowbee?
I suppose, but you're still having to physically, right? But so here, when you mentioned that math is degrading, and I was thinking, okay, well, we don't learn. When we were in school, you had to learn how to use an encyclopedia. You learn to use a dictionary. You learn to use an atlas and a thesaurus and all this stuff. And now there's almost no point to any of that stuff because you can just look up and have all this knowledge, right? But same with math. is yes, they're still teaching arithmetic and solving the equations, but at some point, is that because of technology pointless in teaching because you'll never actually have to do that yourself? But then all that problem solving and all that stuff is just gone. And Rich has kind of a point
Sure.
that this finding information for yourself and reading where it actually came from and all that stuff is just like,
Well,
and now you get information that you don't even know.
Well, think about
came
the
from.
skills, when we were in school. It'd be a Thursday night or a Friday, and the teacher would say, "Oh, by the way, I need your 14,000 word essay on the mating habits of the tsetse fly." So you grumbled, and then you went home, and where are you going to find things out about a tsetse fly? In the encyclopedia. Then once you got the encyclopedia, you had to reference everything because you couldn't just copy, because that would be plagiarism. So then you started writing. Well, now teacher says that, kids go home and they type in their "give me research on tsetse fly," they find it. Okay, now you've wasted 30 seconds, and then you go, "Oh, ChatGPT, write me a 17,000 word page paper on the tsetse fly." Click, and then you go out and do whatever you're going to do. You come back and you print it, you're done.
Yeah. So that'll be an interesting, not for our generation or the younger ones now that are kind of in school, but like the one after that, is kind of, how do you deal with, you no longer have to spend any effort to get whatever information you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so why put you through the hoops of, you're really not learning. Anyway, here, this is, Jarl mentioned that Circle K already has registers that do that.
We ran into that. We ran into it the other day. We were coming back from some friend's house, and I wanted to get a soda, so we stopped in the Circle K. And Sharon went in the Circle K, and there's a clerk behind the counter, and she asked a question. He goes, "Oh, no, you have to do it over there." He couldn't even take care of her, or didn't want to, and he had, because they're pushing everybody into this completely no clerk, no nothing.
So you just put it on the counter, and then your total comes up, and you hit your card, and then
that's it. You have no interaction. And see, that's got two problems for me. One, you have no interaction, so no social interaction.
Perfect.
And without social interaction, well, we're already seeing that now. We're already seeing that people don't know how to deal with other people. And what Rich said, the information that you can get out there is so easy. Yeah, but here's the kicker. Is the information correct, or is it biased to one side or the other? There's another problem. And then more importantly, if, everything is based on electricity for the most part, what if our electrical grid goes down and we get thrown back to the dark ages, and all these kids that have depended so much, I mean, our generation and probably our next, our kids could survive because we kind of showed them how to camp, how to do this, how to do that. But you go forward a generation, and what are they going to do if they don't have electricity? They can't turn on a light switch. They can't. How do they build a fire? All those type of things that are going away.
All right, what other technology do we have now that you think will be gone in 50 years?
Writing utensils. A pen, a fountain pen. Even though there'll be a nostalgia for it, but if you want to write something, you're going to have, in fact, they already have it. You have a digital piece of paper, and you'll just kind of tell it what you want it to say, and so you won't have to use your, sooner or later. Do you remember the movie WALL-E?
Yeah,
the Disney movie. Okay, so at some point we're going to be 600-pound pieces of goo, because we're going to have everything doing everything for us rather than us doing anything. So I think that's probably going to happen. But I think there always is going to be a select group of people that will prevent it from going 100%. For instance, you said cars. There always is going to be guys that 400 years from now, people are going to be pointing at and saying, "Hey, look at that Volkswagen going down the road." There's going to be
LPs that. Or that watch you just got.
Right.
But that's interesting. You say no writing utensils, because, I'm thinking, all the little notes I take, Post-it notes are still like the little, but I could totally see the more efficient it becomes, and that you're carrying with you. Like that's what drives me nuts, right? Is whatever you surf the internet on most,
Hmm.
and you tend to have your password stored in there, so it automatically pops up and all. You go onto a computer at work or somewhere else, you're like, what the hell was that? Because they're not talking to each other, right?
Hmm.
At some point, when you're carrying all this stuff just with your body all the time, it won't matter. And so it'll become much more efficient. Then instead of writing a post-it note, you'll just have it, little stored information wherever, but be able to access it like that.
Oh yeah. Well, I think what you're going to see is you're going to be
That'd
walking down the street. You're going to be walking down the street, and especially in a big metropolitan area like where you're at, you're going to be walking down the street, and all of a sudden, people are going to stop in front of you, not because they see or do anything, but they're over there blinking, and what they're doing is they're accessing all their passwords to, they're going to be shopping with Amazon as they're walking down the street. I mean, you've already seen it happening.
Yeah. So that's fun. That'll be the new injury. I'm sure that's already happened, but you're talking about all the pickleball injuries now that happen.
Mhm.
Because old folks are paying that. There'll be more pedestrian accidents and more. I'm sure there are already a lot with them.
Right.
We get talked to all the time from our safety guy at work about don't text and walk, because you can trip over the curb or go down the stairs, and at work they're responsible for all that stuff, right? But I'm sure that's got to happen all the time.
But the one thing about texting and walking, why I hope they never ever make it mandatorily illegal, is because it is so funny when you see somebody texting and walking into a fountain, walking right into a fountain, or walking into a door. It really is kind of funny. I mean,
you got to be skilled. Here's an idea: broadcast media will be gone soon.
I agree, because when you look at the big three, CBS, NBC, and ABC, their content on their news is no longer news; it's entertainment or infotainment. Where people are getting most of their news now, believe it or not, is social media, whether that be Twitter, whether that be YouTube, Facebook. The problem with that is, though, how the hell do you decipher what's real and what's fake? You can't. I don't care who you are. I mean, you can have opinions, but
so I guess it could go either way, right? And even say less time, like 25, 30 years from now, there's either going to have to be some way to discern more, like it'll boil down all the sources and all the, and say, just like, what's going on over there? You making milkshakes and stuff?
No, Sharon's making Mexican food.
Oh, I'll be right over. What, nachos or?
No, she's making homemade chilaquiles. If you know what that is.
Isn't that a breakfast food?
No. What you do is you take. It's kind of like an enchilada casserole, but it's a little wetter. And what you do is you take the and why she decided to do it during our show, I'm not exactly sure, but but you take tortilla chips, and see, that's another thing that'll be coming is complete noise cancellation. But you have tortilla chips, and then you pour. I may not be here next week based on the look that I just got. But anyhow, you take enchilada sauce and cheese and olives and you bake it, and it's delicious.
Yeah. So I'm gonna quick, because if you haven't had to do a lot of research, you might not know, but people think that the whole double-blind study for medicine is like the best study you can have, right? Is like you don't know what you're getting or what the test is for, or whatever. That's not the best research. The best research is the ones that combine 40 research studies and say this is what. And so that would be my hope, is that through all of our powerful computers and stuff, it can pull all this information and go based on facts that can be found other places with backing up data and stuff. Like, here's what.
Well, and I think and okay, there may be a little bit of bias here because I am a Star Trek generation. I mean, we watched it, we were brought up with it. And the one thing I always liked about Star Trek, and don't get me wrong, I like Star Wars, but Star Wars to me is more like reading the Bible. It's a fantasy type thing, and not that the Bible's fantasy. Let me rephrase that. But it's more of a fantasy thing.
It's lore, it's storytelling for a purpose.
Where Star Trek, if you look at some of the things that have come out, are based on that type of stuff. And I remember there's one, when you're talking about medical, I remember that they had to come back in time, and Dr. McCoy walks into an operating room, and this guy's got a bone saw, and he goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "All you need to do is look at the temporal joint on your dental, and that'll fix it." And they looked at him like he was crazy. So that's what I'd like to see, is I'd like to see where, and it's already gotten better, where an operation that once had a scar this big is now a scar this big, and I know for a fact that's already happening. And you've got robots doing the
Yeah.
actual surgery with. So I think that's where we're going to see the quickest changes of things that are going to go away that we used to have is in the medical field, because it seems like all that research is being pushed that way.
Yeah.
You
And we
know,
can
so
when we can get rid of X-rays, that will be super cool. Because
oh
if you're not concerned about radiation to the body, and you make it quick and cheap, then you can screen people for all sorts of stuff all the time
well,
and catch it before it comes to
yeah, I
problems.
was blown away how much an MRI costs, and not so much that. And once you find out what the MRI machine costs to build and buy, now you understand why it costs that much.
Yeah.
So yeah, eventually, if you could walk through like you do at the airport, you
But
just
yeah,
walk
that
through
scanner.
something,
Yeah.
yeah, and boom, it tells you everything you need to know. And I think it'll get there. I mean, it'll
Yeah.
get there
And
soon.
it's fun. I'm gonna tell because this came up at my wife's work that somebody at her work, you can pay for full body MRIs if you want to pay for it.
Hmm.
And some guy did one and it found something wrong with him that they were able to fix. It was pretty major to find early. So
Hmm.
he was telling everybody, go get this. And I was saying, but I hope everybody understands that that's at that moment in time, you don't have anything. A year from then, unless you're going to keep doing this, you could have something. You have to make it much less expensive to.
Well, yeah. In other words, you have to be able to have. Well, if you look at the science fiction, because to me, I do believe, and granted, I'm a science fiction geek, but science fiction drives technology. It really does. Because if some guy can think about it, it can become reality. For instance, the med pod. Where you climb into this pod and it does everything. It can do surgery, it can do MRIs. Now, your mom asked something, and maybe you know what this is. I don't know, but
I
maybe
was
with all
hoping
the
she would
changes,
finish her question.
yeah, that no longer has to ELA. I don't know what that is. So, Linda, if you could
She
let us
could be
know.
mid-stroke. We'll have
Right?
to find. Yeah, but this is
You mean mid stroke as in typing, not mid
no,
stroke as
like
in,
like
yeah,
she.
yeah. I was going to say, come on, come on, yeah.
But so this is interesting because when we talked about this too, that the new thing Apple has,
Hmm.
I've never put it on, but it sounds amazing. If you can put it on and feel like you're in a theater or something like that, that would be great. But it takes away all personal contact, and that's where you're saying, we'll just be these people in these chairs, these pods, and isolated. That this is kind of because it could be if you're viewing your computer and your phone and all that stuff, then automatically when you got downtime, you're going to start playing a show, and then
Hmm.
immediately you're disconnected from everybody else.
Well, your dad brings up a good point that taking television sets, those will go away because number one, a lot of people don't have TVs now. They stream everything from their phone to their iPad, and so you're going to be walking down the street or you're going to be in your office and somebody's going to say, "Hey, did you see the episode of so and so?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm watching it right now." What do you mean you're watching it right now? I'm watching it right now. You know, I mean, and that's going to happen. I mean, it's going to.
Yeah. Can you
Uh,
imagine it'll be that people without eyeglasses will become a thing of the past because our vision will be so bad
mhm.
because we're just constant
Oh yeah.
this. Yeah.
But that's a good point that Jimmy brings up, that it was once said that Star Wars was an invention of the author and Star Trek just hasn't happened yet. That's a pretty good statement. I like that.
Yeah.
Because that's fairly true. But so those type of things. What else? Now, what else from your childhood, or from your teens, or from your 20s that you had that there was something you were dependent on that is no longer around?
That I was dependent on.
Well, I mean something that you.
Holy moly. Or used all the time or
A wall phone.
well that's tough because it just changes. Like I heard
Mhm.
your alter ego say wall phone. Right, but we have a phone now. And
That's that's my AI.
your AI. And then, I had 45 records that I listened to. And now we listen to
Mhm.
something else. So it's all just kind of evolved. It's not just gone versus
Well,
like the skill
here's
to
something.
actually grow your own food. I never really had that.
Right.
But over a couple generations, right? That's like some
Yeah.
people still do, but fewer
Oh,
and fewer.
yeah,
Right.
my AI does that. But yeah, so yeah, I think this is what your mom was talking about. I think there will be a time
Mhm.
when everything is automatic. One will want to learn some of the old skills, like creating a musical. Yeah, and I think you're right, Linda. I think that as long as we have a soul, we're gonna reach back and say, wait a minute. Because sooner or later that revelation has got to happen where we look at everybody walking around like they've got a curtain over their head and say, pardon my French, what the hell happened? You know,
There was a Star
why?
Trek episode about that.
Mhm,
Remember, it was a society where everything was provided, so they just learned to sing and poetry and art, and
mhm.
that
It's
would again have to take that shift that we're not going to be this way. So technology has freed up so much time. Instead of being consumers of media constantly, we're going to take the time and learn 3 instruments and learn to paint and
well, and I
be
think
expressive.
it's funny you say that because I think that's probably one of the reasons why science fiction has had such an impact on my life. Is there was a book called The Stainless Steel Rat, and what he did is he was kind of a thief in all these outer planets, but his sister had a PhD in weather entertainment. So literally, people would pay hundreds of dollars to sit in this theater, and she would be like a conductor. But technology got to the point where she could create weather for entertainment. So if people wanted to feel like they were a lightning storm, and she would add colors, all those little things.
Yeah, this
Us
is funny. This is true. When you're mad, you really hit that red button, and that's about
can't slam the phone, can't hang up. Goodbye. And you had that cling. Yeah, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Now, and so technology wise, yeah, I mean, there's so many things that we used to have. Okay, when's the last time, now not you necessarily, but when's the last time kids sat down and colored? Because now they can bring up a computer program, click on the space that's supposed to be blue, and it immediately goes blue. Where when we were coloring, whatever, the lines didn't matter. They really didn't, So that I don't think that'll ever come back. Although Crayola, I guess, is still selling crayons, but I think people are they're eating them now.
It still happens up until you get to 3rd grade or something like that, and then
and look at how technology has evolved. I mean, now you've got paintball guns, you've got the airsoft. I remember running around outside with a cap gun. Now, these little rolls of caps that went in this thing, and they just popped, and you thought that was the greatest thing in the world. Now you walk outside,
We've got some counterpoints that Charles, his twins love to color, and they actually do have, they have adult coloring books, and then they have mature coloring books with more detail.
No, I know the adult coloring books because, Sharon's kind of an artist too, and I bought her a really nice set of coloring pencils in an adult coloring book, and that's not hard. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, these things are hyper detailed, and but I think the problem with that is you have to slow down, you have to sit down, you have to open up, and you have to relax. You have to turn your phone off so you can do that. Same thing with puzzles. I mean, when I was growing up, a jigsaw puzzle, that was a family affair. I mean, people would sit there and talk and have fun playing cards. Same thing. But now nobody's got that much time. We've got to be at 4:36. We have to be here and there. People have sped up so much they haven't slowed down to just relax. And that's why, to me, sitting outside on the patio with a cigar and a cup of coffee, that's the same thing to me. Even though it's.
So let me ask you though, when you're doing that, do you not have your phone with you?
Good point. Yeah, I usually do.
I would say I have quickly turned into enjoying constant input of something to the point where when I'm having my cigar and all that stuff, not only will I be listening to either a video or a book on tape or something, I'll also be playing a game. So my phone is doing 2 different things at the same time,
right?
Just with input, or if I'm cleaning the house, right? It's like I'd hate it being quiet.
I love this statement right here that your dad put. We still do family puzzles. To me, but do you, Stephen, let me ask you this. Now, obviously the kids are spread out and stuff like that, but when you guys do get together, is it traditionally during the holidays that everybody will say, hey, let's sit down and do a puzzle? Or is it when you get together at any time? We used to do that with cards. We played all kinds of cards. I mean, you obviously, the stories of the puzzles, but I think that's a great idea.
No, my parents, for a long time, they always had a puzzle going just between the 2 of them all the time. But then Yeah, when that's fun, especially when the family's around for the holidays. Often a
Play a
puzzle comes
game.
out. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, like with Sharon, she'll start on a puzzle, but the problem is she won't leave the puzzle until it's finished. So I'll go to bed, go to work, get up, go to bed, go to work, go up, and 48 hours she's still sitting there at the puzzle, because she loves puzzle and she loves. Well, she loves all kinds of brain teasers like what was it, Minesweeper,
Yep.
that one that first came out. Oh, that was just, amazing. And I bought her a game called Civilizations,
Mm.
and I didn't see her for like 6 days. And she built
So
her.
I want Rich to give us more detail on this. He misses the station wagon, and I'm curious why, or if that's just nostalgia because he grew up with station wagons and it harkens back to that time. Because
I'm gonna say something before he can type it, and I know what it is. They threw him, the dog, and the kids in the back of the station wagon with the back window open, and it was like having an apartment back there. And Dad would be driving around, and he'd be ramming up against the windows, and it was safety first.
Yeah. And the big selection of cars. Well, see, this is weird because it depends on your perspective. Because, like Dave mentioned, I'm not into any. What did we say? The old retro stuff, right? So when I look at most old cars and stuff, I'm like, that's ugly as sin. And to me, the old ones all look fairly similar. But I guess and the case is still the same now. Most of the big automakers, they've got the less expensive 4-door and then the SUVs that all look, I don't know.
Well, yeah, they're not. I don't know. I don't think well, how many times do you see now the family going on a family driving vacation? I mean, when I was growing up, we didn't fly across country. We drove across country because my dad wanted to show and he wanted to see all the things like the big ball of string and the caves in Missouri and Cadillac Ranch in Texas, because it was an adventure. Now you get on a plane, 2 hours, 3 hours, you're there.
I see. So he's saying that's probably true. There's a lot smaller brands back then of cars and stuff. And Rich is leaving me hanging with why it is that he misses the family sedan.
Well, and you could bring this back to food too. There are certain foods that have gone away that'll never come back. For instance, my big pet peeve are two: the sesame and green onion Doritos. Those were the best Doritos they ever made.
I never have heard of those.
Oh my God! Think about it. Green onion. Everybody likes green.
I like green onion.
Sesame seeds on that corn chip. Oh dear Lord, they were great. Also, the Carnation breakfast bar. Now, it tasted like dirt, but it was crunchy. It wasn't, all these new breakfast bars now are all chewy. There was no crunch to them. And the Carnation breakfast bar was the best. And there's actually, people want it back so bad, there's a Facebook group with petitions. And of course, Nestle owns the company. And they're like, no, it's not going to come back.
I'm hoping for you. Well, so when you mention food, I'm trying to think the opposite again of what do we have now that's going to go away. And I can't think, there's there's all the trendy crap. Like chia seeds didn't exist before they came. They were super popular. Now they still kind of exist, but not as much. They're going to so the trendy stuff comes and goes.
Right. Well, I mean, if, not to get too environmental, but if we keep eradicating the bee population, we won't have to worry about much food at all. I mean, when you really think about it.
So here, station wagon is a more flexible platform that had fewer points of failure, and not being a 4-wheel drive, we weren't tempted to go where we shouldn't go.
I don't know. I'd argue that point because we had a station wagon, a 1967, Nova station wagon, no air conditioning in Arizona, and that was a truck. It was a car. It was a sedan, and it was a 4-wheel drive. But my dad was a little crazy when it came to that stuff. What about clothing styles that have gone away?
Oh, for
hats.
Luckily, most of them.
Hats.
Well, we talked about the fancy ones, right? We did a whole show on that. And then I don't understand. again, that's where the trendy stuff that I think everybody looks back on, and the only reason they like it is nostalgia, like bell bottoms, plaid pants, platform shoes.
But what's the one constant? A men's suit. Those haven't changed hardly at all.
Right, suit, blue jeans, t-shirts. I mean, where you just are, it's just basic clothes. Everything else, I'm wondering why. Why do they have to invent? I was thinking this. You know what's going to go away? Shoelaces.
Yes.
That's why. I don't even know why. What happened? We came over here. The Pilgrims had buckles on their shoes. The buckles don't come undone. Then some fool had to invent laces, which I don't know why that's better than a buckle. And then can you get her a camera? Can we put her?
But here's Velcro. Yeah, but here's the thing. I have an idea, and your wife put it up. I am going to get you a pair of buckle shoes, and I'm going to get you a pair of culottes, and then we can get some frilly, and you can become a gypsy.
Are not for men.
Well, that you could argue that, because if you look at some of the Russian dancers, that could be called a culotte.
Well,
I think that could be called a culotte. But what's cool about culottes is just saying the name. Culotte. That just sounds cool. But
they just came up with the name, and they said we got to invent something.
Capri. Do you know what capri pants are? And men started wearing those, where they were pants, but they stopped at just above the
ankle.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Somebody just needs to get punched. I mean,
well, see that's my point. You've got shorts and you have pants. Why do you have to shorten your pants 3 inches? What's it?
Well, that's my point.
What's the point?
And let's talk about shorts. Oh, Sharon's saying that there's a second delay. But let's talk about shorts. Remember, shorts used to be 1 to 2 inches above the knee for men. I'm talking about for men. Okay. Uh-huh. And then, of course, when Izod came out with those corduroy surf shorts, they were a little higher. But then all of a sudden now you put on a pair of shorts and really you're wearing a culotte because those shorts hang down to your calf.
And every time I see a guy wearing those where they go below his calf, I'm like, why don't you just wear pants? How much cooler can that I suppose 3 inches can make it a little cooler, but it's like, that's not summer wear. There's got to be the dumbest tan lines anybody has. And the thing is,
when you're talking to somebody like me who's short, like 5'6", those would normally hit you. Yeah, basically they go down to the ankle, so it looks like basically I've got legs that are this big around. I look like something out of what's that game that's all pixelated?
Minecraft.
Minecraft, yeah. So I look like somebody with Minecraft going down the street. Yeah, just make shorts.
So kilts, we talked about this before too. The kilts I'm all for because that is much cooler than pants.
But in Scotland, you could wear a kilt out and nobody would say 2 words. You wear a kilt out here, being stared at.
And board shorts, don't they just go to the knee? They don't go longer, right? They go to the knee.
Actually, I am very happy that this was posted because I want to hear.
Oh, you've heard a lot of them.
Oh, I know. Well, and the thing is, I think we've gotten lazy as a society, depending on your geographic location as far as what you wear. Because like here, if you wear a suit and tie to work in the middle of June, people think you're absolutely crazy. Yeah. So people have gotten casual. So it's golf wear now. People wear golf wear.
Which I think is fine, right? You're more comfortable. You do the same job.
Yeah, but wait a minute. You wear a shirt and tie to work almost every day.
No.
Well, I thought you did.
Yeah. I've gone through phases. Now it's pants and a polo because it's much more comfortable. And it's kind of mood dependent too.
But see, you are kind of a fashionista. And how I know that is because when I see you post your watch, I look at the shirt and the texture, and you have a nice textured shirt, so it's not a cheap shirt, and you wear cufflinks. So you do have a fashion sense.
I do. Well, that's my thing is if you're going to look nice, then why not, you go a little extra step. Yeah. If I'm not going to try to look nice, then I don't care if I got a stain on my shorts. Jeez. You know what? This and the comments from your kitchen you know,
Oh, but
we
if
are gonna.
we,
They keep saying
see,
don't put us. We're not going to be on camera, but they're begging for it.
that's what we need.
Yeah,
Smell-o-vision. If you could
smell
smell
of it.
the aroma in this kitchen
Mm.
right now, oh, it's amazing. So Steve puts out regional styles. Need tie and dark jacket in DC or NYC. That's true.
Oh,
But if you try it in Portland, that's interesting. I figured Portland with the weather would be, that would be
yeah.
acceptable. But is it more the demographic?
That's funny because when I lived in Oregon, the standard wear there is shorts until it's about 40 degrees out, and then a sweatshirt to keep you warm. And then when I came down to California, and I think my wife said this even when we were up in Oregon. She said, "What are they doing? They're wearing it's cold, so they're wearing sweatshirts and they're walking around in shorts." But up there, that's just the standard. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's much
Well,
more
and
for some reason. It's much more comfortable to have your legs uncovered, and then it doesn't bother me at all to put layers on the core.
well, I mean, I think what your dad said is true. Is it's very regional in here. Like here, um, you know, that old what was that old adage that you don't wear white after Labor Day, or some crap like that. Here, it's Hawaiian shirts and shorts through November and December. I mean, I know plenty of times there's been Christmas where you've got flip flops, shorts, and a tank top or a t-shirt on. You
Yeah.
know, and so I think that has had a lot to do with things. Well, another thing that has gone away, except for those of us that are um, into it, is watches. Think about it. I've had conversations with my nieces and my nephews, and they go, "Why are you wearing a watch? Why?
Yeah.
I've got
The
my watch right here
functionality is
on the
gone.
phone." Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. But I
What
can't
about
leave. I can't leave the house without a watch on it. I can't. No.
Yeah.
I'll drive home if I'm gone and I forget my watch and I'm 5 miles down the road. I will turn around and come back because you have to
You
have
know
that
what we
watch.
haven't heard about for a long time is manufactured meat. Wasn't for a while they were working on something that you could make somewhere in a lab that had the same structure as red meat and tasted the same. And the whole point is that um where was I going with that? That raising cows is terrible for the environment, takes up a lot of land, makes a lot of, and then it just disappeared.
Well, I think what they probably realized is like most scientific America, they're like engineers, and they say, "Hey, this is a great idea. Let's process this idea. Let's put it to market, see what everybody thinks, and then post they find, oh, um, that may not have been as good for people as we thought it was. And
Or
not only that, but like, well, for instance, Burger King came out with the plant-based Whopper. It was a plant-based meat. I had
right.
it, I tried it, but it was twice the price of a regular beef Whopper. So it's like, mm, you know,
Well, see, that's too. They need to stop requiring so much labeling of food. People want more labeling. I'm the opposite. Like this whole GMO thing, and people are against GMO. Well, 90% of our food is genetically modified to make it tastier or stay fresh longer or whatever.
yeah, I
And
want the
you
food that
never
we.
cared until somebody made, like, oh, this isn't. So it's got to be
Well,
better.
I want to go back to when we were kids. Okay, you looked at the ingredient list was sugar, beef, dirt. That's it. Eat it. We
Right.
didn't know. We didn't look at labels. I mean, for instance, like here's one thing that has gone away that scares me a little bit is when you were a kid and you ate Apple Jacks. Remember Apple Jacks?
Yeah.
The cereal Apple Jacks?
The good
They
tasting
look
Cheerios.
they looked like Cheerios. Okay, they looked like Cheerios. They had a nice cinnamon appley flavor. Go buy a box of Apple Jacks today. They are neon radioactive green. Why? See? So there you go. I
Get
mean, we
kids
don't.
excited.
Is
Yeah.
it?
Is this a rule? Just because we shouldn't doesn't mean we. Would that be? Oh, that could be something that isn't around or not around like it is now. Is red meat. That if as things change with the environment and there's more pressure and all that stuff, that the substitutes do start to become mainstream.
But one of the biggest arguments about not having beef is because the billions and billions or the millions and millions of cattle that produce so much methane because of their flatulence. So if you make that a law that says we can't do beef because of flatulence, how do you make a law that humans can't be flatulent?
We have pills for that. Next question.
That's good. But it's true. I mean, if you go to France or you go to Spain or you go to any of those European countries, and they're drinking wine, they're eating the fattiest cheese, the most fat-laden salamis and stuff like that. These guys live to be 150 years old. We eat all the good food, and we're pushing up daisies at 70.
Who eats all the? You don't eat all the good food.
No, I wish I could. I mean, and not only that, but you go to Italy or France and those places, meals are a event. They're not just, something like that.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just saying it at some point so I'm going to equate food to nudity. Watch this.
Oh, this should be good.
Yeah. So in Europe, right? Nudity isn't a big, huge deal, right? They've got nude beaches and women can be topless. I know it varies, all that stuff. But in the United States, where we like to think of ourselves as advanced thinking and stuff, it's like, oh my God, no. And kids shouldn't see this, and very few nude beaches, and women have to have this covered and all that stuff. The same thing with food. The United States have to get over that there are places to eat bugs and things like that, and probably wouldn't have a problem with, they can't get red meat, so they would take the fake red meat if they could get it. And we just have to get over ourselves about thinking, well, we've always eaten this, and that's what it should be, because I'm scared of anything that's not what I've had.
True. That's a good thing. But my counterpoint to that would be, if you go to the south of France or to Mallorca or any of those where they do have nude beaches, look at the populace that's on.
They're not McDonald's fed. I know.
I was going to say, you come here and you go on. I mean, because I know there's.
I'm not saying about the appeal. I'm just saying.
I know that, but I know that. But the nude beach, like down near La Jolla, I think it's called Black's Beach. That's a little scary. But when you talk about the food, I mean, who wouldn't want to sit on the French Riviera at a villa, having a nice glass of wine and some cheese that was made right there? I mean, come on, with some fresh bread.
Well, I'm not saying it's bad, but what if your salami was half ground up worms and you had no idea? That's the problem. That's why I said less food labeling, because if you did not know.
Well, I have that coffee pot. Yeah, no, I guess today for
can
our
you move
show,
the camera into the kitchen so that we can just be
apparently today for our show, it was a test of what type of special effects that we can use for later shows. But
this would lead well into our reality show, The After Dave, where you just put the camera in the kitchen and we see what happens.
But it's funny you mentioned that about bugs, because when I was in the military, we because of the survival training and stuff, you learn what bugs to eat, what plants to eat, what not to eat. So I have no problem with that. But we can tell the people now that in a future episode, you and I are going to be eating bugs.
Stay tuned for more.
The only thing about that whole thing, because most of them are like chocolate covered crickets and grasshoppers and ants and stuff, I'm okay with that. The final one, the tarantula.
Dude, why did you weren't supposed to say?
But there's another option that I won't talk about, and that one's worse in my opinion.
I thought you said that one would kill me because of my allergy.
Well, see, I don't know.
We'll find out.
No, we don't want to find that out.
I don't know that it would. Huh. Anyway.
Well, this is it. Well, you know what? And we're going to be ending the show on such a
but that's what's trending is nobody's going to make you. But if you wanted to, Rich, what's the big? And I know it's all situational, but it's funny being in the medical field. We don't walk around naked, but we see people's bodies all the time, and it really is true. We could care less, right? It's and it's so obviously in Europe in those places they must have that mentality. It's just like whatever you see it all the time, so it's no big deal.
Well, and they're not body shamed either, and they're not. They I think most people in Europe have been brought up that sexuality, nudity, and stuff like that is natural, where here we've been told that it's taboo.
Yeah,
I feel
which is That would have been good. Yeah, you shouldn't have told the. I would not have guessed coffee pot. I thought
Yeah.
against you the blender was going.
No, no,
So-
no. That's good. We can do a show. Guess that sound. So what have we solved today of things
Oh,
that have gone
Were we
away that
supposed to
we've
solve
missed?
something?
No, not really. Well, okay, pick one thing that has gone away, and it can be anything. It can be food, it can be technology, it can be whatever that you absolutely miss and wish that you still had.
You know,
Well, wait. Before
would-
you answer that, I want to break
Oh.
it down. I want to break it down 3 ways. So tech that you no longer have, food that you no longer have, clothing that you no longer have.
all right. Well, tech. This is going to sound weird, but I wish that we couldn't stream things because when you had to watch it at whatever time, we've talked about this before, built up anticipation and made it like this is the time for that. And it seems like you enjoyed what you were watching more because it was in that moment, right?
Right. Okay.
And you couldn't stop it halfway through to do something. You weren't going to have side conversations because you couldn't rewind it.
Okay. I need to put a sidebar in there. When you said you can't pause it or anything like that.
Yeah.
At what point in time, and if you see, and Jaro, what you're going to be hearing possibly is the crashing of a glass across my skull. Just, I'll give you that hint. At what point in time do you get a video, okay, a movie, and you
Yeah.
put it in and you're going to have a nice movie night, and the movie runs 200 and let's say 180 minutes.
Yeah.
That movie becomes 675 minutes.
Now you've said that. That's in your house.
Exactly, because
We
I got to
can
get
make
some
it
coffee.
through.
Oh, I got to go to
Oh.
the movie or the bathroom. I got to do this. I got to do that. Oh, the dog needs to go out. Oh, the dog needs a treat. And so by the time you're done with the movie, you're like,
But see,
tired.
if you just had to turn on the ABC Sunday night movie,
Exactly. That's my
then
point.
that's on you. You run, right? You
That's
ran to
right.
the bathroom, you ran back. You weren't going to
Well,
miss
that-
more than you had to.
When my parents and I used to go to movie theaters, okay, my mom would sit down. She wanted to go see the movie. 10 minutes into the movie, my mom's fast asleep. And she gets up at the end of the movie. What happened? My dad goes, "You missed it. We didn't. You missed it." Okay, so there's your tech thing. What about your
What's
food?
your tech thing?
My tech thing would be, wow, I never even thought about that. I would say no. I would say a manual transmission car. I know they still have them, but they're few and far between. I
Could it be
like
the standard?
I like shifting vehicle. Yeah, I like shifting.
Dude, that'd be
vehicle.
hard as heck to text while you're driving with a manual.
See, that's my point. That's my point. So, okay, how about you for food?
Oh. I keep coming. It's got to be the pudding pops.
Okay,
Those were delicious.
for me, it's 2 things. One, I've already mentioned it, the
The
Carnation
Doritos.
Breakfast Bar.
Oh,
No, well, the Carnation Breakfast Bar is the number 1. Number 2, there was this dessert that you got in elementary school when you went up to the lunch counter and you had the pastel color trays and they plopped this on the corn and that. There was a dessert and I know it wasn't carrots on top of it, but something was shaved that was carrot color. It was peanut buttery. It was like a mashup between a Butterfinger and a brownie.
Yeah.
And they were delicious. And never saw them again after because they were probably made of plastic. I mean, who knows? But they were good.
I have to tell this story because my dad says he misses his manual about the most radical change in cars. So he just likes to have a challenge or a game or something when he was driving. So he had, and he'll correct me if I'm sure I'm wrong about all this. I think it was a 280Z Datsun. So
Nice.
huge, long hood, right? Big
Sports
rumbling
car.
engine. Yeah. So he had then 2-seater. So he had that for quite a while. And I think it probably kept leaking or something and got tired of fixing it. So he traded that in for, and he's going to have to put in the comments because I'm blanking right now on what the car was, but it was one of the first hybrids that was super fuel efficient with the skinny tires, with the fairings on the side to keep it just like, Honda, what the heck was that?
The
Honda. Anyway,
the Fit.
no, he'll put it in there. But the thing went from the challenge of driving of like the manual and the zipping in and out of traffic and all this stuff to this car that he wanted to see how much mileage, the Honda Insight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that had
low
the
performance.
yeah, the back tires had the fairing across
covered,
the bottom.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so it went from fast driving, fun, sporty to how good a mileage can I get, so I can how long can I take to get up to the stoplight so I don't have to use my brakes, and how slow can I like stop it.
But I gotta say, I knew I loved your dad because I had a 1978 280Z 5-speed. Oh, it was the funnest car in the world. Um,
It was
so,
good.
okay, how about clothing?
That I would want back, or a
Mhm.
trend I would want? Not me
No, just
personally, right? A trend that I would want back. Well, we talk. I would love to be able to pull off a walking stick. So I want fashion to come back that I could wear whatever. Because we talked about that, right? I'd have to have a
Mhm.
hat and a long coat and all that stuff to pull off a walking stick. And if you walk around with that, then you look ridiculous.
Unless it's got a sword, then that's a
Sword.
little bit different. For me, I'm much more simpler when it comes to clothing. What I would like to see come back is not even for me or for male. It is for women, and it's called the tube top.
I
Tube
don't
tops were
like those.
tube tops were the greatest invention ever. They were
No.
just wonderful.
There's no
Because think about
support, so it doesn't
it.
look good.
Oh yes, it did. Yeah, because think about it. The women that were wearing tube tops, they were and I'm not talking about the ones that just wore the tube top by itself. No. There's no
Oh,
imagination. You wear the tube top, and they would put a nice
I
frilly
see.
type shirt
80s.
over the top. Yeah, it was yeah, it was wonderful.
So you
But for
must
me,
be thrilled with the crop top craze then, huh? You're
no, not
halfway
really.
there.
No,
Huh.
no. Actually, yeah, no.
Postcards, and actually that's a good call. That
Yeah.
you go to the mailbox now, and you almost never get anything that doesn't go right into the recycling.
Well, nobody writes letters. Nobody writes letters anymore either.
But he wants bell bottoms back. I don't even
Well, but
know what to
remember,
say.
your dad was from the generation that bell bottoms were cool.
But
I mean,
why?
when you think about it, I mean that they put and Stephen will probably hopefully agree with me. Is there are memes and stuff that are on Facebook right now where you see these women with long flowing hair, their hair is back, they're sitting on top of a Chevelle, they've got a tube top and bell bottoms on, and the caption underneath it is, "Your grandmother will never be as cool as my grandmother because this is what my grandmother did." I mean, it was just a different time. And the music, we didn't even get into the music that has changed since then.
So my mom says somebody in Portland dresses like I wish I could, and people like, yeah, I guess you become a celebrity if I get you'd have to do it every day. That just has to be you,
But
right?
see, if you were in London, you would do that, and people wouldn't even look twice at you.
Yeah,
True. That's just the and I'm sure the English have that say that about us.
Yeah,
you Yankees have become slobs.
All right. On that note, buddy.
On that note, any other questions from anybody before you'll have to see that, Dave, because I'm on a different screen. But any other questions from anybody?
No.
Well, folks, thank you so much for joining us for tonight's show. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And we will, for future shows, be looking at doing a show called Guess That Sound. And we already have our first contestant.
Special guest star.
Yeah, but a special guest star will be Tig Lily saying, "What's that sound?" So anyhow, I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's show. We'll see you again next week at 6 p.m. Just to put something in your calendar, we will, November 10th and beyond, it'll be 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m.
No.
Yes, you guys go back.
Right, no.
But it'll always be 6 o'clock. Yeah, it'll always be 6 o'clock.
Here.
But no, that makes it 7 o'clock my time.
Yes.
That ain't
you hate
happening.
that.
No, that ain't happening. That's gonna be 6.
You tell my boss.
Yeah, but remember the program is based on Arizona time, and you set the program up.
More to come.
All right, everybody. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next Tuesday night. Take care. Say goodnight, Dave.
Night, Dave.
See you later.